Hello and welcome to another edition of Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is a feature of the channel where you guys leave lots of comments on the channel and I attempt to answer those comments, or if I can't answer those comments, I throw it out to you guys who have more knowledge on some of this stuff than I do. So let's get into the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. Next comment or question comes from user random numbers. So user. And this was in response to the Yamaha SY99 project, the assessment part 1 I did in August 2022. I can't believe it's 2 years ago. User writes, any ideas? The change battery warning comes on at startup even though I've changed the battery and I've already done a factory reset. Interesting, very interesting. So, things that spring to mind. Is the battery you've put in good? I know that sounds really daft, but sometimes, you know, these batteries either get damaged in the manufacturing process or have been sitting in packaging for so long that they actually start to deteriorate. So, the first question is it pushing out 3.2 volts? One of the things I do is I always test the batteries before I put them into the machines, just to make sure they are good and pushing out the required voltage. And as I say, I know they're standard batteries, but the CR2032 that go into Yamaha machines tend to have the solder tags on them, which means that somebody's had to take them out of the battery and solder some tags to the battery. Now this is a relatively easy process if you've got the kit to do it. The downside to the whole solder tag process, of course, is that if you've compromised the battery by crossing the terminals, you're discharging the battery while it's sitting in storage waiting for somebody to buy it, and that could have caused a problem. Second question is, are you actually getting 3.2 volts off the battery into the circuitry? As in, you've unsoldered the old one and you've soldered the new one in, and is the new one actually properly attached? You haven't got a dry joint or something that's not allowing 3.2 volts to traverse across the circuitry. And it could be really staff stuff, and it's so easy to do this, is you kind of blow the pad into which you're trying to solder because you've applied too much heat or something like that. And bear in mind, these synths are getting old, so you know they're going to start to deteriorate anyway, so you have to be rather careful on that. The key in my mind is use lots of flux when you're doing soldering. Make sure you plaster it on to the surface area you're trying to solder to make sure you don't actually have to apply excessive amounts of heat. The solder will flow very quickly. Now, failing these two obvious areas, it could be an issue with the circuit that monitors the voltage and reports that back through the menu item. And what I do is I look at the voltage. You'd have to track this through the circuitry because I don't know off the top of my head which particular pins monitor the voltage, but you'd have to track it back using a meter or an oscilloscope and find the pins that are permanently attached and see if you are getting 3+ volts on those pins. Now, if you're getting less than 3 volts on those pins, that could be where your issue is coming from. So a voltage level of say 2.9 or 2.8, 2.8 definitely will cause a problem. On the pins that the battery is meant to be keeping alive, that could definitely be where your issue is, and therefore you could have something like an errant resistor that is leaching voltage off that circuit. So even if you're getting 3.2 volts off the battery, you're not getting 3+ volts at the point where the the voltage is actually needed to maintain the memory. So, you know, then you could be into having to look for a component that comes off that track to see if you've got a component that's gone rogue. And I say it could be something as simple as a resistor leaching power off that circuit. I just don't know, because I've never had to track it through, but these are just things that spring to mind. Other than that, I don't know is the honest answer, without actually having the synth in front of me and tracking it back myself. They're just the areas where I probably would start. Next comment or question comes from Piano Key Joe. I love that. I love that handle. I think it's a really great handle. So, yeah, thumbs up from me, Piano Key. Anyway, this one's in response to the Yamaha TX1P. What's inside the box? Video I did in July 2018. And I've got to be honest with you, I'm still wondering whether I keep this box or not. It's kind of on my, not sure. Anyway, but the reason why I like it is because it's kind of FM. That's how it generates its sound, but it's beside the point. Anyway, Piano Key, right? Hi, does anyone know how to do the factory reset on the TX1P? I replaced the battery, but now I cannot get sound from P1, P2, Harp C or Vibe, and only EP plays, but all the notes are wrong. Reminds me of the old Eric Morecambe sketch. I'm playing all the right notes, but not necessarily in the right order. For those who don't know, Eric Morecambe was part of the double act Morecambe and Wise, very big double act in the 70s and 80s in the UK. Very funny people. So go look them up on the YouTube. Anyway, Piano Key, the factory set is called as follows. Switch off. Switch on by holding the E piano and chorus keys, and the display should say FC. To instigate, sorry, it should say FC. Instigate by pressing the data entry INC, and on completion the data display should say FC again. Run the test process by pressing Vibe and chord play. Press data entry to restore to normal play mode. Now, that sounds a little bit complicated, but that is effectively how you do it.